I think it's fair to say that 2 and 3 John are some of the most neglected letters in the New Testament. I don't know if you've ever done them in Bible study or not, but they really are. They're great little letters, and they're not just great, but they're really important for us to be faithful in gospel ministry. The two letters really go together. 2 John is a warning against welcoming false teachers, and 3 John is an encouragement or exhortation to welcome true teachers. So 2 John, don't welcome false teachers into your home. Don't show hospitality to false teachers. You'll be partners with them. But 3 John, make sure you do welcome true teachers. Then you will share in their work. Right? So it's really important to understand how truth and love and obedience, all these things that those tests that we've just seen in 1 John, they kind of come up again here, right? The truth test, right? You don't welcome a false teacher. If someone's a false teacher, they fail the truth test. Don't welcome them into your home, right? It's something very important. Now, 2 John is very short, so I think we can read the whole thing. Can I have a volunteer to read 2 John for us? We'll think about it together. Who'd like to read?
Okay,
Yeah,
the elder elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all who know the truth, because of the truth that abides in us and will be with us forever. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with us, from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father's Son, in truth and love. I rejoice greatly to find some of the children walking in the truth, just as we were commanded by the Father. And now I ask you, dear lady, not as though I were writing you a new commandment, but the one we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment, just as you have heard from the beginning, so that you should walk in it. For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh. Such a one is the deceiver and the antichrist. Watch yourselves so that you may not lose what we have worked for, but may win a full reward. Everyone who goes on ahead and does not abide in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Whoever abides in the teaching has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. For whoever greets him takes part in his wicked works. Though I have much to write to you, I would rather not use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to come to you and talk face to face, so that our joy may be complete. The children of the elect sister greet you.
All right, and that's it, right? It's really short and sweet, isn't it? Just 13 verses. Now, just from an initial reading there, you can see that there are so many similarities to 1 John, isn't it? Right? It's very similar in terms of the tests, right? If anyone comes to you and they are not walking in the truth, then they're not from God, and these things, they're truth and love, walking in love, and all these things. Some language here, like he says, a new commandment. We just were reading about the new commandment just now, or the language of the Antichrist, which is also in 1 John as well. Language of abiding, which is also in 1 John as well. And also it just seems to be addressing a very similar situation as well, doesn't it? I mean, there are false teachers, and they're not abiding in the teaching of Christ. Don't align yourself with the false teachers. Don't welcome the false teachers, and so on. So it's very, very similar to 1 John, just as a first reading. So let's look at the background issues. We'll come back to the message. So the first one then is authorship, and we've already seen that no one attributes John's epistles to anyone other than John, and I think you can probably see why, right? And so that's what the external evidence is, and almost all the scholars agree that the author of 2 and 3 John is the same as the author of 1 John, because the connections between them are just so strong. So that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, the idea of the deceiver and the antichrist, loving in truth, that your joy may be full. Those who love are those who do good are those who are from God. You can see that those are all in 1 John, and many of them are in 2 John. Some of them are also in 3 John as well, etc. There's other expressions that suggest that the author of 2 and 3 John is the same. So the idea of like loving in the truth or walking in the truth, that's in 2 John 1 and 3 John 1, or walking in the truth, 2 John 4 and 3 John 3. So it's not just that that 2 John is similar to 1 John, but 2 John is also similar to 3 John, right? So it very much suggests that the same author wrote all 3. 2 and 3 John have a very similar ending, right? So 2 John, we just saw, says, though I have much to write, I'd rather not use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to come to you and talk face to face so that our joy may be complete. 3 John ends, I have much to write to you. I'd rather not use paper, pen and ink. I hope to see you soon. We will all talk face to face. Right? Now, this is an aside for that, isn't it? I think we've all just gone through a pandemic, COVID pandemic, and we were at home and we were doing Zoom, and even now for this class we're still doing Zoom class, isn't it? But it's different, isn't it? It's different to meet with someone online or to meet with them face to face, isn't it? That's what John is saying here. I'd rather not use pen and ink. I'd rather see you face to face. There's something different about joining, say, online church and being physically present with God's people, right? Same with reading someone's letter or reading someone's email or reading someone's WhatsApp message. We all have WhatsApp these days. Everything's on WhatsApp. We don't make phone calls anymore, only WhatsApp, right? Not even emails anymore. But John would say, I'd much rather meet with you face to face than write you a WhatsApp message. Right? Yeah. So, but the point here is that 2 and 3 John, they both end in the same way. So it suggests that they have the same author. The author of 2 John and 3 John, he identifies himself as the elder. Right? And that should mean John the Apostle. Now, just a reminder here that when we were looking last semester at John's Gospel, we saw that there was, there's some theory that some scholars hold to that the author of John's Gospel was not the Apostle John, but it was some guy called John the Elder, because there's one ancient writer that mentions John the Elder. And we spent a lot of time at length saying why that was wrong and why the evidence for John the Apostle being the author is correct, and that probably this John the Elder, some other person, probably doesn't even exist. You can go back and you can go and look at the lecture on Introduction to John's Gospel if you want to revisit that, right? So when John says here, he's the elder, he doesn't mean I'm John the Elder, I'm not John the Apostle. That's not the meaning here. He's giving his title. And saying that he's the elder doesn't mean that he's not an apostle either, right? You could think of 1 Peter 5 verse 1. There, Peter, the apostle, also calls himself an elder as well. Let's just have a quick look there. 1 Peter 5 verse 1. Peter says, I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ. Right? So Peter is an apostle. He calls himself an apostle in the first verse of 1 Peter. And then he also says that he's an elder as well. So to say that you're an elder is not to say that you're not an apostle, right? John the Apostle is also an elder. Right? Okay, so bottom line, the author's John, right? John the Apostle. Same author as 1 John and 3 John. So let's go to the next part, which is provenance and dating. Again, this is really straightforward. Because 1, 2, and 3 John are so similar, it suggests that they're all written by the same person around the same time. Right? We argued 1 John is maybe written around from Ephesus in 96 AD. Probably the same for 2 and 3 John. Audience. 2 John is addressed to the elect lady and her children. Now, this is almost certainly a metaphorical way of describing the church. So don't misunderstand what John's saying here. He's not writing to an individual person who happens to have several children, maybe got no husband, right? The elect lady and her children. That's not the meaning here. The elect lady and her children. Elect lady is a way of talking about a church, right? Remember the Greek word for church, right, is ecclesia. It's a feminine word, right? Elect means chosen, right? Chosen by God. It's what the church is, right? The church is made up of those who are chosen by God, who belong to God. Right? So, so when he writes here to the elect lady and her children, he's writing to a church, right? And that's confirmed by looking at the closing greetings at the end. He says, "The children of your sister, who is chosen by God." Right? Who's the children of your sister? It's not saying, oh, there's one there's one woman that he's writing to, and John's with a biological sister, and one sending greetings. No. That's not what's going on here, right? John's with one church, and he's writing to another church. That's the meaning here. So it seems to be that he has a particular church in mind, but from that description alone, I don't think we can really say anything else about it, can we? We don't really know which church it is, what they're like. It's too brief to really say anything. The canon stuff, it's the same as the previous lecture. We'll just skip that and move on. Let's go to the purpose. And the purpose is very clear. Why is he writing it? He's warning the church against welcoming false teachers into their home. And the description, because it's so similar to 1 John, it suggests that the false teachers he has in mind are the same false teachers he's been talking about in 1 John. So let's look at verse 7 and 8. Many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh. Such a one is a deceiver and the Antichrist. Watch yourselves so that you may not lose what we have worked for, but may win a full reward. That is, you'll receive eternal life. So notice how that language there is very, very similar to 1 John. Let's just turn back to 1 John for a moment. He says in 1 John 2:18, "Children, it's the last hour, and as you've heard, Antichrist is coming. So now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know it's the last hour." So notice there's not just one Antichrist, but many, right? Who are these Antichrists? Well, they're the false teachers, right? They went out from us. They were not of us. If they were being of us, they would have continued with us. They went out that it might become clear that they are not of us. So what are these Antichrists actually teaching? Verse 22, "Who is the liar but he who denies Jesus is the Christ?" This is the Antichrist. He who denies the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever confesses the Son has the Father also. So Antichrist, what does Antichrist mean? Anti means to be against someone, right? So Antichrist means against Christ. Right? How are they against Christ? Well, they're denying. They're denying that Jesus is the Christ, right? That the Son of God has come in the flesh, right? That's what they're denying. And John is saying, well, if you deny Jesus, then you also deny the Father, right? And that's echoing the teaching of Jesus from John's Gospel. Let's just turn over there for a moment to see the connection. So we're in John 5. Remember the context here. He's healed the paralyzed man on the Sabbath, and they're upset that he did it. And Jesus says, "My Father is working until now, and I'm working." And then they get upset because they say they want to stone him to death because he's even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. They recognize that by calling himself the Son, who's working like the Father, that he's making a divine claim. And then Jesus goes on to substantiate that he is the Son. And look at what he says in verse 22. The Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. Whoever does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. So because Jesus is the Son of God, because Jesus has been sent by the Father and he speaks the Father's words and he does the Father's works, if you reject the Son, that means you're also rejecting the Father who sent him. So if you reject Jesus, that means that you are against Jesus. That means you are anti-Christ. And that's what the false teachers are doing here. Okay, so it's probably the same false teaching. Could be that Gnostic Corinthianism that we were talking about earlier. It seems that their influence is growing rapidly. So David Peterson writes this. The wandering prophet or preacher confronted the church with a number of problems, particularly when they were clever or influential. Christians were accustomed to offering hospitality to these itinerant preachers. Sometimes this was at considerable expense to individuals and congregations. John was entirely justified in warning them about the false teachings and practices of these men. Now we see that warning, especially in verse 10, isn't it? If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. Whoever greets him takes part in his wicked works. If you welcome a false teacher in your home, then you are helping to propagate their teaching. You are a partner with them in their false teaching. I had to learn this lesson once when I was a much younger Christian, when I was at university. I had a Bible study in my house, and there was a lot of international students there from many different countries. Quite a number were non-Christians, others were very new Christians, and I was a very new Bible study leader. Right? And while we were having the Bible study, there was a knock on my door, and who was at the door? Well, there was 2 Mormon missionaries at my door. So what did I do? Well, I thought, we're having a Bible study. We'll evangelize them. Let's welcome them in, right? And so we welcomed them in, and we went through the Bible study with these Mormon missionaries that was there. Now you can see I had a good heart. I want to evangelize them. Let's have a Bible study, try and convince them. But what I was really doing was endangering my group, right? Because by welcoming them into the home, it could suggest that I was endorsing them, right? Which could open the door, and then they would meet all the people, and they could be led astray. And so after that Bible study, someone pulled me aside, and they opened 2 John with me, and they said, this verse: don't welcome false teachers into your home. Now, it's not saying that you should never. We definitely should evangelize Mormons and other people and so on, but it was more that context that I got it wrong. That's what's going on here. Okay, what's the structure of the letter? Okay? This is how David Peterson has it. There's an introduction, there's a conclusion, and there's a central section. 4 to 6, walking in the truth. 7 to 9, denying the truth. 10 and 11, don't receive those who deny the truth. I think there's another structure in your handouts from I. Howard Marshall. I didn't put on the slide. 1 to 3, address and greeting. 4 to 6, living in truth and love. 7 to 11, beware of false teaching. 12 and 13, final words and greetings. They're basically the same, isn't it? It's just Marshall decides to combine 7 to 11 in one part, whereas Peterson separates the 2, right? Okay, so it's but very clear, isn't it? So let's just have a quick go through the letter, and then we'll have to turn over to 3 John. So some of the themes, the idea of truth is a theme here. He says, the elder, the elect lady and her children, who I love in truth. Not only I, but also all who know the truth, because of the truth that abides in us and will be in us forever. grace, mercy, and peace be from God the Father and from Jesus Christ the Father, Son, in truth and love. Notice that's truth that unites true believers together in the same family, isn't it? I rejoice greatly to find that some of your children were walking in the truth. True believers walk in the truth. That's like the truth test we saw last time. And why is he emphasizing truth? Well, of course, it's because of the false teachers who are denying the truth about Jesus, denying that he's the Christ. Love, right? We see that emphasized here as well. We saw just now truth and love, isn't it? Jesus Christ in truth and love. Notice how those two are linked. Also in verse 1, whom I love in truth. You love those that hold to the truth. Verse 5 and 6, the commandments. What's the commandment? Love one another. What's love? Obeying God's commandments. So love is closely tied here to the idea of truth. Love arises from the truth, and love is part of our obedience to the truth. Obedience, right, also links in as well. It also flows out from the other two, isn't it? In 2 John, we're warning against false teaching, particularly denying Jesus' incarnation. So the letter stresses that living in the truth requires obedience to God's commands, right? This is love. We walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment that you should walk in it. Right? The great command is about love, isn't it? Okay, false teaching, right? That's the main issue in the letter. These deceivers, these antichrists, denying the incarnation, and so we shouldn't welcome false teachers. So one quick way through the letter. Let's go back to the start. Right? So we've got the opening greetings there, where he's emphasizing truth and love, which binds them. Then thanksgiving, 4 to 6, because they are walking in the truth, they are believing the true apostolic gospel, and they're living it out in lives of love. He encourages them, keep loving one another, keep living in obedience. Why do they need to do that? Because of the threat, false teachers. There are just false teachers who are denying the truth about Jesus, and therefore losing their salvation. And so he says, don't welcome people who deny the truth. If you do that, you share in their wicked works. Interesting, isn't it? You can't be a godly false teacher. It says, if anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, don't receive him. Whoever greets him takes part in his wicked works. So you can't be a godly false teacher. Teaching false things about Jesus is evil. It's wicked, right? So however much they might be a nice person and smile. Lots of false teachers do smile, isn't it? Right? They're still not righteous. They're still not good. John says if you welcome a false teacher, you participate in their wicked works. Okay, and then the final greetings. Let's